your week has gone well. My name is Andy Johns with WordSouth. I'm joined by Carrie Huckabee, who should be on the call as well. Carrie, are you there?
Good morning, Andy. I am here.
Great. Well, looks like we've got a good crowd of folks. It's good to see everybody that's on. I guess not see everybody. Hopefully you can see us in the slides, but it's good for you all to be on here. Today we're going to be talking about the customer journey, and we've got a lot to cover. We're going to try to go about 45 minutes, and I'm not sure how good your Spanish is, but the salsa music there at the beginning, he was singing all about how important it is to know the customer journey for your telco customers. It's really moving song there. But I'm going to turn it over to Carrie, who will lead most of the presentation. Carrie, I was trying to set the poll up, but I couldn't get the poll going, so we'll have to do without that part. But we should be good to go otherwise. So if you don't know Carrie Huckabee, she is a telco legend, even though she doesn't like for me to say that. She's worked with several telcos, I guess not several, with 3 in Tennessee, Kentucky, and Alabama. And she has a lot to share from her experience there, and we're looking forward to getting into it. So thank you all for joining, and Carrie, take it away.
Thank you, Andy. Good morning. And Andy, my video doesn't work, which may be okay. I'm not looking my best today anyway, but good morning. And as Andy said, we're going to talk about the customer journey or the buyer's journey this morning. And next, on the next slide, I really like this definition by Salesforce, because WordSouth is all about stories and visual stories and writing stories. Salesforce says that the customer journey is a visual story of your customers' interactions with your brand. And I like to say, too, that is documenting and mapping from start to finish, that each interaction, each touch point, each experience with your company is in that journey. You know, in simple terms, it is stepping into your customer's shoes, looking through your consumer's eyes to get through the buyer's journey. And like all of us on this webinar, you know, we have different taste in shoes. We have different shoe sizes. We have different wants and needs, different objectives. And as far as looking, you know, through your customer's eyes, we all don't have 20/20 vision either. We all see things very differently. So not only are we different, we have different objectives. So, you know, it may be a new acquisition. We may be looking to upgrade our broadband. We may need a security system. We may need a new HVAC, a new water heater, energy efficient program, whatever it is. So I say all of that to mean, you know, there's normally several different routes through the story. You know, we all do not get there the same way. We don't see the information the same. So talking about customer experience with Matthew Dixon, and I don't think I can change there you go. Matthew Dixon wrote The Effortless Experience, and he says, instead of getting customers to say, you exceeded my expectations, that we really ought to be trying to get customers to say, you made that easy. I don't know if you all remember the easy button that Staples put out years ago. You know, that was the whole idea, that they made it easy for you to find whatever it was that you were looking for. And, you know, in order to be easy to do business with, you've got to understand the path that your customer takes to get to you, and then understand why they stay with you. So if you haven't read Matthew's book, that it's a really good explanation and talk about what customers are looking for and about reducing the customer effort. So Andy, I think we've got a company set up here to talk about the customer journey.
Yes, so if you have seen, we've done this on a couple of presentations lately, but we have set up a fictional company called Dart Broadband, and they are it's a fictitious brand that we have made up to and develop some characters to kind of talk through some things like that with both with the training, the customer experience training that Carrie does, and with some of the presentations and webinars that we've been doing. One of those characters is Jill. And for this scenario here, Jill just moved to your community. She is a single parent with a few days to set up her home and get back to work. Jill works remotely for a large insurance company, so broadband service is a must and urgent since she only has a couple more days of vacation. Her list of things to get done is long, and the movers are coming the next morning. Jill's mobile is her only link to finding everything she needs to do to get her home and office ready to work. And so we thought that in order to kind of map out the customer journey, we were going to see it, like Carrie said, through Jill's eyes and look at Jill's journey here.
Right. So if you go on the internet and you look up customer journey or buyer's journey, there are hundreds or thousands of examples of how to do a customer journey map or a buyer's map. But it does, they range from simple to extremely sophisticated. But really, I believe that you can learn a lot by keeping it to these 5 headings. Don't make it difficult for yourself to start mapping this out. There's awareness, meaning how does Jill find out about Dart Broadband? Where does she look? Where are the different ways, the different channels that she can find out about Dart? Interest, what can she provide? What are you providing to keep them interested, for her to continue to evaluate the product? Then purchase, how do you close the sale? How does that happen? Does it, is that frontline employees? Is that salespeople? And then retention, how do you know when they are at risk, when they're looking somewhere else? And then advocacy, that's an area that sometimes we forget. Retention and advocacy, we spend a lot of time on awareness, interest, and purchase, but advocacy is important. Do you do anything for your customer that's loyal, that speaks highly of you, that takes up for you on social media, gives you good reviews? What are some of the things that you can do there? So, if you don't want to do the whole customer journey, complete journey through these 5 steps, then just start with awareness or just start with advocacy and just start making that list. So Jill needs broadband service, and she needs it fast. She needs it soon. As Andy said, she's just moved in. She's got a couple of days to be back to work. So how does she find out about you? Awareness. Does she, and remember, she's using her mobile phone. Is she finding you on the web? She's doing a web search for broadband, web search for security. Did she see a digital ad? Did she see you on social media? Did she find you in a homeowner's guide, print material or ads? Maybe there was a residential sales team. Friends, maybe her friends and family told her about it when she moved in. So there's lots of ways out there to find out about your company, or I hope there is. Hopefully Dart Broadband is everywhere they need to be. But in the meantime, in chat, why don't you put out there, where do you think your customers learn about you? And Andy's put that out there.
Yeah.
So Andy, you're going to talk about Google search, I think.
Yeah, so some technical difficulties. We'd hope to have that as a poll, but if you guys want to, just throw that into the chat where you think some of the #1 ways people are learning about your company. We'd love to hear that. And it looks like we got a good crowd from really all over the place. So thank you, Jeannie. Thanks for being the first brave one there, but anybody else could throw those over there. I wanted to specifically look at Google search, and that is the number one way. And for a lot of folks, that's the number one way that traffic certainly is going to come to their site. So we'll go ahead and look. I'm going to bring up an example. And this example is, I need to clarify before I share it, is absolutely nothing that the telco did wrong. And it's something that we were able to work to fix for them very quickly. But you always want to take just a minute and Google yourself and just kind of see what comes up. And at the end of this presentation, we're going to unveil a cool tool that we think will be useful for you guys. And it's called the Customer Journey Report Card. And the first question on that report card is to Google things like broadband in your town, or internet service in your town, or electricity in your hometown, telephone service, whatever it is, and just see what comes up. And so this is what we did when we were working with Loretto Telecom. We just Googled Loretto and telephone. And like I said, I bring this up not because of anything that the telco did wrong, but for some reason, Google decided that the image there, the dominant image, needed to be this guy. And I'm sure he is a wonderful young man, and I'm sure a great person, but that is not ideally what you would like to see come up as the number one image when you search for telephone in Loretto, Tennessee. So we worked with them. It was pretty easy. Lee over there was able to get in there and replace it. So now when you look up, you see they got the bucket truck and a different shot of the outside of the building, and it's just a much better. If that is the customer's first step of their journey, that is certainly the image that you would like to, you'd like for them to see much more so than the other guy. Though, like I said, I'm sure he's a good guy. So for a lot of folks, that's your first step, is they're going to Google you. They're going to check it out. And maybe they use, I'm using Google as a synonym for search. There is Bing and a couple other folks out there, but for the most part, Google is going to be the monster there. Then after they go, after they look you up, they're going to hopefully make it to your website. And if that is step 2 for you, you want to make sure that you're representing your brand well. The websites that we build, this one is one SCRTC up in Kentucky, and that we were happy to help with them on. But we do what we call the STAR system, which is we make the website searchable, translatable, accessible, and responsive. And all of those are important. So searchable and translatable, we want real text on there, not images with text built in, because for a couple of different reasons that's difficult, but particularly so that it helps with search. And then the website itself, you can search for topics on there. Translatable, depending on your demographics, there may be quite a bit of, usually it's Spanish speakers, but we were just working with somebody over in West Texas, and they had a really big refugee population. That I think it was Somali refugees that spoke a totally different language. So they had to, as we were working on a site for them, we are building the site to be ready to translate through a Google plugin there. Accessible is one that we spend a lot of attention on. There are a lot of folks with visual impairments that are needing to access your website, and in some cases, public utility websites and public utilities have been held liable for ADA compliance. So that's something you always want to make sure that you're doing there, to make sure that everybody can access your website. Because if you have your customer journey mapped out for 90% of your customers, you're doing good, but you don't want to leave that 10 or 5 or 10% behind because of whether it's visual impairment or language barriers or anything like that. You want to be sure that you build a site with them in mind. And then the last thing, make it responsive for different size devices. We're seeing more and more on all the sites. I think the last time that I got the web folks to check across all the different utility sites that we've worked on, it was over 50% of the visits are on mobile devices now. So, you know, it used to be if your website was built for desktop and there were some deficiencies or some problems on mobile, you know, you could kind of tell yourself that most people could see it right. But now you're looking at more than half of the people out there looking on mobile devices. You know, as Carrie was saying with Jill, if she's only got her phone to set it up before she gets internet service, she's really going to need that to be responsive and represent itself well on mobile devices. I told you about the customer journey report card that we'll be rolling out at the end of this presentation, but we've also got a website report card too that you can take a look, and it helps kind of evaluate your website as well. And if you get, I think it's a C or lower on that website report card, we are happy to do a video website evaluation for you at no charge and send it over so that you can get some specific feedback from our website team about how searchable, translatable, accessible, responsive your website is and any other issues. But for more and more people, that's going to be the second step of that customer journey. So you really want to make sure that you hit it right. Carrie?
Sure. So here, I think I saw Virginia put in chat that yard signs works very well for them. And WK&T has had residential salespeople for years, and they have used yard signs and window clings and door hangers on the front door. So this piece here has you know, the salesperson's picture, it has his direct number, and it also has the website. But on this journey, if Jill calls that salesperson, she moves into her new house and this yard sign is in the yard or something's on her door. If she calls this salesperson, you know, what does she need for Craig to close the sale? She's going to talk to him. Is he missing the sale for, you know, any reason? Are you tracking that? What kind of success rate is he having? Or maybe he's hard to get in touch with because he's out in the neighborhood knocking on doors. What happens when the voicemail, you know, Jill leaves a voicemail? How quick is the turnaround? So that's some things that you want to put in your journey, your customer journey. If, you know, they take this direction, what happens here? You know, when they call Craig, when she calls Craig and doesn't get in touch, or she does get in touch. So on Jill's journey, all right, she has looked on the website, she's found information, maybe she's called the salesperson, she's interested. She's looking at your reviews, she's looking at testimonials, they're really good. So, and according to stats, 63% of shopping experiences start online right now anyway. And matter of fact, this year, it's probably even higher than that. And also on a webinar other day, I heard that it takes up to 17 touch points or experiences with your brand for someone to make a decision. Meaning, you know, there's so much information out there, you know, competition, they're doing research, 17 touch points. You know, that's a lot of interactions. That's a lot of goals, or a lot of resources that you need. And if you have goals to meet or projections to meet with your budget, you know, that's probably taking a lot longer than you need. So you want to cut that number down. And so to do that, you need to answer, you know, Jill's questions faster and directly to Jill. And that's one part, you know, of the customer journey that helps you understand who your buyer is. What can you provide to Jill that speaks to her directly? So I think case studies is one of those that we think does well in that situation.
Right, and this is one, we have case studies on our website, the WordSouth site. We were looking around to try to find some good examples of telcos or electric companies that were using case studies, telling a lot of those. We didn't find many, so honestly, that might be an opportunity in terms of the website. But you know, to get in there and look at how your services helped a small business, or how your security service stopped a home burglary, how managed Wi-Fi kept your network safe from a cyber attack, or restricted visitors from visiting dangerous websites. Even if you're not telling those stories on your website, if you do a magazine, and I know we do a magazine for a lot of the folks on the call, that's a form of case studies. You know, they're getting those in the magazine, the newsletters, and they're seeing how folks are using your service. That always is a lot more meaningful than the bits and the bytes and the speeds and all that. If it's a story of somebody they know and your service has made a difference in them, for them, then that story goes a long way. So possibly consider, as we're talking a lot about online this year, especially, maybe repurposing some of those stories that are in your newsletter, your magazine, and getting them onto your website as a case study might be a way to help that journey along. All right, Carrie, I think these were the testimonials that you were going to cover.
Sure. And as Andy said, when you're producing content, whether it be testimonials from a business customer or a residential customer, you know, those can be turned into case studies or longer articles about, you know, why they're doing business with your company. Here with WK&T, and I know a lot of companies have done image campaigns with customers and also with employees, but this was a bill stuffer they did maybe earlier this year, and also they had a direct mail in this campaign where they were highlighting different customers in their serving territory and why, you know, they liked their broadband or why they liked their service. But as I said, you know, these can be multi-purpose. They can be added to your content library on your website. And, you know, even your employee image campaigns could be resources and content on your website for Jill to learn more about your company, your culture, who works there, and what your customers actually think about the service. Also, Sand Hill did some great handouts for business that on their hosted PBX and their fiber broadband. These went into their service portfolio, I believe, but they have testimonials, 2 testimonials on each handout from business customers that are using the hosted PBX and the fiber broadband. Again, they're using this, their salespeople are using this, but this can also be added to your website so that, you know, anyone can look at this additional resources. You know, 17 interactions or 17 experiences with your company is a lot of information for them to be looking for to help them make a decision. And also in any kind of information sheets. Here we've got one from FTC that did one to help people choose streaming services when they were getting out of the video business. They wanted to help people, their customers, consumers, understand what the best streaming services are, what the options are, you know, what comes along with that streaming service, the cost. And also Coleman Electric, when they launched their Sprout fiber internet, they thought it was important for their employees and their customers to have a handout, you know, to understand broadband terms that maybe they had not used before. So again, this is content that could go on your website to, you know, help people just understand your product. I think the next slide we have.
If I can jump in real quick there, Carrie, part of.
You sure can.
So I think it's important, you know, to anticipate steps on the customer journey. And that's why it's so important to kind of map it out and think through what folks are going through. FTC knew that when they were going to get out of the TV business, they were going to have a lot of people with a lot of questions about streaming video service. Same thing for Coleman Electric with Sprout Fiber Internet. They knew that people were going to have a lot of questions just about what all these words mean. You know, I keep hearing all these broadband terms thrown around, and I don't know what they mean. So anticipating that customer journey before they get there, so you can have the material ready to go, is such a key spot. We're going to be sending out a freebie in October to everybody who's on this webinar and all of our clients and friends in the industry about the new cloud gaming systems that are coming out with the new PlayStation, the new Xbox. So around October 15th, we'll be getting that out to you guys. The game systems come out in mid-November, but we hope that that can help you kind of anticipate some of the spots where, those cloud gaming systems, from what I've read, they're going to need 25 to 30 megabits per second minimum to operate. So when folks are getting those game systems this holiday season, that's another point in their customer journey where they're probably going to need to upgrade. So that's what I wanted to jump in with there, Carrie, is just, thinking ahead and anticipating is so key with that. And we hope with the gaming stuff, we'll be able to help everybody out there.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy that you jumped in there, because that is such an important point to anticipate what they will need and what direction, where they'll go to find the information. So if you don't remember anything else from this webinar, that's certainly a good point and very important point. So here we just had Take the Worry Out of Wi-Fi. Troy Cable produced this to hand to customers. It, again, it could go on the website to help people make a decision and understand about their managed Wi-Fi service, because that is a service that still, has a lot of options with it and works in, people call managed Wi-Fi different things. So definitely need some understanding there to help. Also, Loretto just put out some various fiber facts on social media and maybe a couple of bill stuffers, but it was just education about broadband. So that can be helpful. Also, here's the next slide. Troy Cable has a commercial here that they put on social media and their TV stations, I believe.
Take the worry out of Wi-Fi with managed Wi-Fi from Troy Cable. Say goodbye to dead zones. Automatically update outdated technology. Get the most of your signal with specialized access points. With worry-free Wi-Fi from Troy Cable, you can enjoy a full-strength signal reaching every corner of your home. Think fast. Think friendly. Think Troy Cable.
And the point here with the video, I think, is that a lot of customers like to read. Some like to see and hear. Some like to talk to your frontline employees. We all learn differently, and video does perform very well. But all of these things then tie back, just trying to get Jill to convert. She is, making that buying decision here. I think also landing pages still has a place out there. There's a subset of, often when there's a subset of customers that you are trying to reach with specific information that you may not want on your main website, a landing page works very well with a special project. Maybe you're trying to reach college students moving into dorms or apartments. Maybe you have that last segment of customers that are still on copper that you're trying to get to fiber. The landing page can explain the timeline, what will happen if they don't convert, upgrade options. So you can be very specific on landing pages. Here was Ben Lowman signed a partnership with a university and I think a local electorate, and they were building fiber in an area that passed about 600 homes. So they wanted to be very specific in the information they provided to that community, the university. So a landing page works very well there. And maybe you're using crowd fiber as your landing page. So, there are targeted audiences that these things work very well and give them information more directly. Also on social media, of course, you can use with your post. Some of these are with our Alabama Broadband Project for the ABC for Students program. These social media posts we are paying to boost those, and they are linked back to the landing page that gives them the information, that's just for this project. And this is not on the main websites. So boosting your social media posts, pointing them back to your landing page or your website is a real quick way to get your consumers back to where you want them to be or where you want them to be.
Taking a look here, it's important, you know, to go back and look at those and see what kind of folks. This will help you segment. If you came to our earlier webinar, I guess that was back in May, we talked a lot about segmenting. And so this will kind of tell you which, if you're looking at your ad results for whether it's social media, this one is for Google Ads, but a lot of the social media platforms give you similar information. So looking at Dart Broadband, you know, let's say that your ad performs really well in one of these demographics. You know, it looks like the impressions on women 65 plus. There was that was kind of the biggest in terms of clicks and impressions for this one. So if you look at, you know, that kind of bucks the trend that you would normally think that a Google ad would perform well in the 65 plus age group. But if you look and see that your online analytics are really hitting one segment really well, maybe you don't need to do other things to reach that segment, but maybe you need to look at it and say, you know, okay, the 18 to 24-year-old women or the 45 to 54-year-old men, those numbers were much lower. So maybe I need to do something else to try to reach those audiences. Because like Carrie said, you can really chart out you can get as detailed as you want and as complex as you want in terms of drawing out that customer journey for all the different personas that you may have. And the digital results or digital analytics that you can get can certainly help you figure some of that out.
So Jill is ready to purchase, and she, you know, can I order services online? Maybe they have chat that I can use because the movers are coming soon. I don't have a lot of time. But here's a question for you all in chat. What year do you think the first online order was documented? Just take a guess and put it out there. So maybe, you know, remember Jill is using her mobile phone. And so remember what Andy said about your website being mobile friendly. So she's going to try to order services. And did you know that almost 70% of orders online are not completed the first go around? You know, they get distracted. Maybe it gets a little hard. It doesn't work just right. They don't find what they're looking for. So one of the things to think about is if Jill doesn't complete her order online, what happens then? Will she get an email from you tomorrow to remind her that she has items in her shopping cart? I mean, Amazon definitely does that, don't they? If you forget something, you don't hit order, you get an email the next day. Will your MSRs or your CSRs call her the next day and you know, see if she needs help finishing that order? But let's say Jill decides to run by the office. She, you know, decides she's out looking for stuff for the house and she just runs by the office. What kind of materials are in your office to answer her questions or help her make that buying decision? How long is your wait time in the lobby? I mean, are you keeping up with that? Are you tracking? Is there information video playing in the lobby? You know, what does your lobby look like? Does it say broadband company? Is it, you know, saying we've got it going on, you want to do business with us? If she called in on the phone, what's your hold time? Or, you know, are you tracking that? How annoying is your hold music? I love Andy's story that he tells about calling Mars or the M&M factory and listening to the M&M characters on hold. So I think he said he and Braden wanted to stay on hold listening to them. But if you require a credit check or a lot of additional information, are you streamlining any of that to cut that down? I did some secret shopping, mystery shopping a couple of years ago, and I went into a small office in a smaller community. And when I went in, I said, you know, I'd like to check about services at this address. And she reached down and handed me a card pointing me to a landing page that they were using and said, here, go on here, put your address in, your information, and what bundle you want. And I said, well, can you just help me with that here? Because, you know, I'm just passing through town looking at this house. And she said, no, you really need to go to this landing page and you know, this web address and put your information in. And I said, well, do you have a laptop in the lobby that I can use? And she said, no, we don't do that. And I said, okay. I said, well, is there a competitor in town? And she said, well, you know, you should do business with us because we're here when you need us. And I thought, but I need you right now. So in that example, you know, I'm having to do all the research, all the digging, go back, work on my phone to put my information in the system. And, you know, chances are, if there had been a competitor easily to do business with, I would have gone there. So, you know, keep that in mind, be easy to do business with. So, so Jill signs up for service. Does she get an email after she signs up for service? You know, upgrades her broadband, inquires about a security system. Maybe the salesperson follows up. I need the next slide, Andy. Did that change?
We do have, nope. We did have some people making guesses though on the first online order, so I didn't want to leave them hanging.
That's right. So did anyone get it right?
I don't believe so.
All right. The first documented online order was done in 1994, 25 years ago. So
I can't imagine what that must have looked like.
yeah, really, really.
All right. Sorry, back to the slides. Is this the one you wanted to be, or you want to go to the next one?
To the next one. Thank you.
Okay. There.
Yeah. So Jill has signed up for service online, or she went by the office and got service. What does she get? Maybe she gets a digital welcome package like here with Covington Electric did, with useful information. This is on the website where she can access it anytime. Maybe there's an explanation in there about her bill, capital credits. Maybe there's a link to the social media channels that your company uses. So, you know, there's all kinds of helpful information. How does she call for technical support? Where does she call? Can she chat? Can she find troubleshooting handout on the website? So just keeping in mind, after she's purchased, what is it that you can do to help her be happy and stay with you and find the information that she needs when she needs it?
This is one of the things too. I know we've got a couple of electric folks who are just getting into the broadband and broadband business. And, you know, for somebody that does electric service, you know, your churn is primarily going to be when people move or when people don't pay their bills, get disconnected. For broadband, when there's competitive choices, churn becomes a much more critical issue. And so it's important to connect and engage with Jill after she signed up for service. So like Carrie was mentioning, maybe you do a magazine or an email newsletter. You do personalized email. Some folks are doing text messaging. There are customer appreciation events. You recognize milestones. Some kind of customer satisfaction surveys. A McKinsey study revealed that a company was losing business. Customer satisfaction scores were at 90%, but when they dug deeper and found the cumulative scores were closer to 40%, and reoccurring problems were just not addressed. There were long hold times, lack of personalization, lack of research for the root of the problem. So it's important not just to take that top line on customer satisfaction, but to really dig in deeper and figure out what some of the negative points are. And a lot of folks, if you don't give them that opportunity, they're just going to kind of live with it. You know, they may, you know, the internet service they get from you may not keep them happy, but they may not know that there's a better option, or that they need to do something better, that they need to move the router out of the china cabinet in the basement in order to get strong Wi-Fi signals all the way through the house. So if you don't reach out to them and ask, you know, you're going to run a chance where they just feel like your service is no good, and really that doesn't have anything to do with you. On the positive side, there are some ways to do milestones, and if you have seen some of this training and other events that Carrie and I have done together, you may have heard the story about the I always do love a good dad joke, being a dad. So on the 1-year service mark for EPB that I have here in Chattanooga, I got a card in the mail that said, "In case you didn't know, your friendship means a lot to us." And so working 2 puns there into 1 card was meaningful to me. But it was a card here for free chips and queso at a local burrito place. So they are not only are they highlighting the relationship that we have together, but they're also, you know, giving some love to a local business that I'm sure is a customer. And they are, you know, it was unexpected, and it made me realize that relationship was there. You know, if there's a way when folks call in, I know Verizon will do this. If you call in for service, they'll say, you know, "Thanks, Mr. Johns. It looks like you've been a customer with us for 11 years. And then you kind of realize that, you know, they're thanking you for the service. You flip back to those 11 years and kind of remember, you know, well, I've had a phone and been, they've connected me for all those important things over those 11 years. It's nice to kind of realize that relationship is there. Real quick, because I know that we're running right up against the time where we said we would take you guys, but I did want to talk a little bit about automation. We talked about this in our events webinar that we did back in August, but you can look at some ways from automated email marketing, or perhaps set up even some direct mail to do this. But real easy to do it as automated email is just to look at when you send a survey out, how you can set expectations for install day, check in at 30 days, check in at 3 months, just you know, repeatedly kind of check in and see how they're doing, all the way up until maybe after 50 bills, or somewhere down the road, you start giving a thank you out there to let them skip a bill, or send them a card full of puns that you can use for chips and queso, or whatever it is. But there's certainly some opportunities to do things there. Carrie?
Sure. And as far as retention is concerned, let's don't forget about your competition. Although they don't look as evil as I think Darth Vader here that Andy has used in some of our presentations, our competitors do sometimes put out some nice offers that catch our customers' eyes. So I do recommend that you check your competitors' offers frequently. You know, keep a competitive analysis update when you can. You know, maybe give your MSR, CSR some scripts to help them combat or talk about the competitor's offer, or comparing your service. And also, are you documenting, do you have a system in place maybe to document if your customer's in danger? Maybe they, as Andy said, you know, your customer service rating is really high satisfaction, but the day-to-day, maybe they've called in multiple times with a trouble, or they called in multiple times about their bill. You know, is that something that you can document in your billing system to know that they're possibly at risk? Or I know with the Calix Marketing Cloud, you can actually see if your consumer has been visiting the competitor's website or has been running speed tests quite frequently, which, you know, is a sign that they may be not happy. So there's a few things that you can do in your billing system probably to track to anticipate, as Andy said, whether they're at risk. And also, you know, then the last step is advocacy. You know, what happens when Jill gives your company a 5-star review? How do you thank her for her support? Are you paying attention that she gave you a 5-star review? And even more, what if Jill defends you on social media? Do you reach out to her? Do you thank her? I mean, you know, there's really nothing better than that word of mouth from your customers versus you replying as the company. So advocacy is really important, and that may be somewhere, you know, that I know with me in marketing, I didn't always pay attention to that as I should. So also there's refer a friend programs. Here's something that Ardmore uses, you know, with a $50 bill credit. If they, you know, if Jill refers someone, her family and friends to your company, maybe she gets a bill credit. Sandhill did something, friends don't let friends use slow internet. So that's a good way to reward your advocates that are out there bringing your friends on board. But before Andy goes to the next point, you know, don't get overwhelmed with the customer journey or mapping it. You know, just like I said, start with one area, start with awareness, and look at your materials and look at your resources or your content that answers. You know, one brochure does not fit all. One article does not fit all. So, you know, just look and see if you need a variety of material or resources out there for your consumer to help them make that decision quicker.
Definitely. I think that's an excellent point, because we didn't want to overwhelm anybody. You know, think of it like a journey or like a path, and if you've got to pave the road for them, you can't pave the whole road at once. You got to start somewhere and work your way out. But I noticed in the chat earlier, a lot of folks had mentioned, a couple of folks had mentioned word of mouth being a key way that that you spread, you know, that people find out about your company, and doing something like this, refer a friend, is certainly a way to help encourage that. I'm about to show you the customer journey report card, but if you had any questions, we're just about wrapping up. If you had any questions for Carrie or I about the customer journey, feel free to throw those in the chat, because we've only got just another minute here to show you this. But I know some of you on this call have taken our website report card, which is on our site, and it allows you to go through and you answer questions, and then it tells you how, you know, gives you a score, A, B, C, D, F, on how your website is. We have, that's been pretty popular, so we have adapted that for the customer journey report card, and we are debuting that today. It's actually gone live. So if you go to wordsouth.com/customer journey, that will put you to the page. You'll see Jill on there. So that part should be familiar to you. You'll have a couple of quick questions just to give us some information to make everything work. And then after that, you're able to submit that and then get into the quiz itself. That quiz is patterned after the presentation we've given, where it's going to start with awareness for you, and then it's going to go all the way through the purchase decision and into retention. Again, like Carrie said, you know, you're not going to get 100%, but if you can get in there and if it helps you realize some things that you can get started on, that's what we're really hoping, is that maybe there are a couple of spots that it can help you on paving that road for your customers to have a good journey. But I think it's about 20 questions, doesn't take a whole lot of time. And we've tested it many times. As long as everything works on the back end, you should get your report card grade within 5 or 10 minutes from when you fill out the quiz. And we're available if you want to follow up and talk any more about that. If you feel like your grade is unfair, we can certainly talk about that as well. But we thought we'd throw that out there just as a way to help you put your you know, like Carrie said, walk a mile in your customer's shoes and kind of see things through their eyes. So I didn't see any questions in the chat. If you, we do have another webinar that I want to let you know about. November 17th, we're going to do a webinar looking at your 2021 calendar. We'll look at everything that's scheduled to happen and see how you might be able to tie in some campaigns, promotions, that sort of thing in 2021. And we're looking forward to that. I think everybody's looking ahead at 2021 being a better year than the one we're having. So Carrie, did you have anything else to add before we wrap up?
No, not a thing. I apologize for no video. Sadly, I don't think I had the bandwidth to make that happen. I am in Mississippi this week, so at my daughter's location.
Excellent. All right. Well, that may have been a technical thing on my side, but I think I think everybody hopefully had a good webinar. We appreciate your time, and we will look forward to seeing you on the next time.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Take care.